Good morning, Dubai. How about that first keynote? Absolutely instructive, I think, here as we move into our first Fireside Chat. And it is with great pleasure that I get to sit down with Hussain Sajwani, the Managing Director of DAMAC Group. Good morning to you, Ali.
Morning. Thank you for having me here today.
So, you and your family are experts and have operated in perhaps the oldest industry in the world, and that is in real estate, going back to Mesopotamia in 3000 BC. Yet, you are bringing it to 2025 and beyond in your family. You as managing director in the portfolio, in the family portfolio, are doing many things that people might think, what the dot-com boom in Silicon Valley 25, 26 years ago, for those of you who might remember. Tell us about that history and how you've talked about technology, and then we can bring it forward to what our topic is today, which is about AI, LLMs, and large-scale data sets.
So back then, I mean, in the technology boom, companies were simply rebranding and putting a .com after their name and having valuations skyrocket.
Right.
And we saw that boom and bust cycle, or he saw that boom and bust cycle in 2020, 1999. Again, with any major technology, you always have this period initially where things are very overhyped. I think we see that with AI today as well. You know, everybody's rushing into the space. You will, of course, have unicorns. You will have the next large multi-billion or trillion-dollar companies coming out of the space. But I think we need to be careful also not get overexcited and overinvest in some of the new technologies before they sort of reach a certain level of maturity, unless you're really well versed in the space.
Now, one of the spaces, data centers, is also part of the portfolio.
So in 2021, we decided to invest in data centers. Data centers really is a real estate play for us. You find land with power, you build the infrastructure, and then you rent it out to the likes of Amazon, who was just speaking before us, the hyperscalers. So it really complements our business. It goes hand in hand with our business. It's sort of like a recurring income rental yield business that complements the off-plan business.
Now let's dig into three different parts of your business in the real estate industry. Number one, product development. We'll move into the sales process. Then we'll look at operations as well, and how you have brought in not only the data sets you have unique to your business and the DAMAC Group, but also what is public data, that which is government data as well. And why don't we start with product development and how you have brought in the very pieces that we were hearing earlier with Amazon.com, but you're doing that with DAMAC.
So in the real estate business, we've been using AI for the past 24 months. We're very lucky in Dubai. Dubai set up the first Ministry of AI in 2017. It's given out by the government, where you can check what is the volumes of transactions, what are the sales prices, what are the sizes of the units, and what areas in Dubai are volumes picking up in. So we bring in these data sets into DAMAC. We combine that with our internal data. And how that helps us is, historically over the past 20 years, when we want to develop a new product, my father would purchase land based on his gut feel.
Right.
Today, data is sort of complementing and helping us move away from that model. We can see that transactions are picking up in certain areas of Dubai. We can see that volumes are high with certain price points, certain unit sizes. So for us, from time of land acquisition to launch is 6 to 8 weeks. We're very dynamic and agile with how quick we bring products to market. So today we can use those data sets to predict which areas in Dubai is the demand picking up on. And that helps us with land acquisition moving forward. It helps us also with the nationalities. So to give you an example, in the last 3 or 4 months, we've seen from publicly available data that Chinese buyers have been picking up. But internally in DAMAC, we did not see a movement when it came to Chinese buyers buying our products, which means we've been having an issue in the past 3 months focusing on that market. So it helped us switch direction and focus on the Chinese market, where previously those data sets we were not looking at those data sets. And today, instead of having an army of people doing that analysis, AI is giving us that insight.
So that's in land acquisition, that's in product development. Of the data set that you are using to determine before you plug it into your AIs, if it's 100%, what percentage is the government data that you're using? Is it about half of the data you're using?
I would say more than half of the data, because all of our internal data is easy to look at.
Right.
What's helping us is looking at what our competitors are doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's all coming in from publicly available data. So we can see which developers are launching in which areas, what are the sizes of their units, how are they pricing those units. So when we bring in that information, that feeds into our internal feasibility studies. And we know, is it worth it for us to go and develop in Maritime City, or develop in Dubai South, or focus just on beachfront products? What does the market want? What is the market purchasing?
The DAMAC Group is the oldest non-GLC real estate group here in the UAE. Your data sets, if you go back to the very beginning, are gargantuan in comparison to your competition. How are you using that to leverage up in terms of the application of, you just talked about product design as well as land purchases? How are you using that? Because you are differentiated. You do have more data to throw into your models.
So if I give you an example when it comes to digital marketing, in the past, we run our digital marketing campaigns and we have quite a significant budget for digital marketing. We'd have a team of people doing the reviews every week, seeing which campaigns perform well, which campaigns aren't performing as well. Today, that team is being minimized drastically. Today, instead of reviewing it on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, we're getting notifications saying, these specific campaigns are performing well, focus on them, increase marketing dollars there. We know that certain campaigns are slacking compared to historic performance. Is this due to the type of artworks we're using, if it's an Instagram or a Facebook ad? Is this due to the audiences we're targeting? So is this due to the product that we're trying to push? And of course, the larger and older data that you have, the better the AI models can work at giving you insights and results.
Now, I imagine, though, 20 years ago, your father and yourself, you started in the business when you were 11, so you've been in this business for 2 or 3 decades now, yes. And so when you think of, 2 decades ago, you weren't thinking, there's a data play here. So have you had to go back, or have you gone back? Have you instructed your teams to say, we need to get this into our large-scale data sets now, and has that been difficult for you?
I think we focused on the quality of data over the past 7 to 8 years.
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I told you I have 20 years of data, which I'm looking back on.
Yeah, I know in the news industry, most of our differentiated data is printed. So getting that to leverage that data set is quite difficult. I completely understand the legacy dynamics there. You were mentioning on the sales process how you can also now use your data sets as well as AI, and you have a couple of vendors that you work with to have pricing models that are much more, that net you greater profit than before. Talk about that.
So if we look at a product which we're launching, we might think that this product needs to be priced at 2,500 dirhams a square feet,
right,
for example. But when we go and we look at the publicly available data, we realize some of our competition might be right next door selling at 3,200, 3,400. So this enables us to fix our pricing models to come more in line with the market. Where again, in the past, it would be based on gut feel or somebody told us, or relying purely on brokers. Because of the way Dubai has structured their data and made it publicly available, it really helps us when it comes to taking such decisions, which are very important decisions when it comes to feasibilities and the margins of the business.
Tell us about the AIs that you've brought in to your real estate business.
So we work with, we've been using it across the entire spectrum, from pre-sales for product development to sales, digital marketing, improving conversions and cost of sales. And some of the biggest ROIs we've had is actually in the operations. If we look at customer interactions, We have a team of 300 people who sit in our call center dealing with customer issues on a daily basis. We used to have a team of around 20 people who focus on quality audit. Now, that team of 20 people would do a sample of only 5% of our daily volumes. And they would try and give us insights on what are the key customer issues based on those, based on the 5% sample that they're looking at. Since the beginning of 2024, we use speech to text to convert all of our calls into readable text. We put those into the large language models, and on a daily basis, we're getting insights on 100% of our call volumes and customer interactions. And instead of having 20 people monitor that, you have 3 smart analysts work with the AI models to give you those insights. If I talk to you about numbers, our resolution scores, which used to be around 3.5 out of 5 in early 2024, are today at 4.5 out of 5. Now that's a huge jump in a period of 1 year. And we would not have been able to do that if it wasn't for the capability of AI to assist us.
So Ali, you've reduced headcount, if I may, about 80 to 90%. You've increased customer satisfaction from 3.5 to 4.5 out of 5.
Correct. And that's just the beginning. I mean, there's a large business globally for outsourcing call centers, etc. And these companies, you know, they have hundreds of thousands of employees.
Right.
And I've been sitting with some of the founders of these companies. Today, implementing these technologies is a bit complicated, but in a few years, you're going to have off-the-shelf products which you can plug and play. Now, if you look at our CRM department, around 40% of our volumes today are handled by AI bots. Mm-hmm. These are quick resolutions. Now, that team of 300 people is going to go down to 150 to 180 people over the next 12 months. And that's just the beginning, because the more advanced AI is getting, the more capable it's going to be of handling even more complex issues. And as it handles more complex issues, your need for people becomes less and less.
Now, you were mentioning that using LLMs. Are you using the West Coast in the United States LLMs? Are you using regional LLMs? Have you brought in some AI apps internally, some wrappers that you have had designed just for the DAMAC group?
So we use mainly GBT. We also use some private LLM models for more sensitive data. So when it's data that can be publicly available, we go for the GBT models. But it's a combination. Today, there's a lot of new technologies in the space, and we're a bit lucky because we have a large family office that's been investing with VCs in Silicon Valley since 2016, 2015. What that gives us is it gives us an edge. Because we have a close relationship with these funds, we get access to a lot of companies in the space, and we run POCs with them. And those POCs, some of them work great, some of them don't work at all. And I think especially for businesses, when you're trying to run these POCs and work with AI, it's very, very important to have a measure of ROI at the beginning.
Right.
So you can scale up if products are working well, and if products are not doing so great, you know how to cut them out and not waste money.
This being a family business, is that an advantage for you then, because you're able to think long term?
It's an advantage because we can think long term, we can be very agile, we don't have to report to a board, etc., and sit a long time on decisions. Also, if you look at the way the region is compared to Europe, in Europe you have a lot of restrictions when it comes to what do you do with manpower, what are you going to do with retraining people, etc. Here we're much faster and we can take decisions in a much more agile fashion.
So you say you don't have a board, but you do have the board of the family. And there is dad and there's your sister that you've talked about publicly. And you say that your family, since you started, that you can remember, dad was talking about business very often. Tell me how that has helped you discuss something that might not seem to sync with the real estate industry, and that is AI. How did that come into the, if you will, the dinner room table, the dinner room?
You know, he's a special person. He's always been at the forefront of global trends. If you talk about our data center business, today we have 300 megawatts, which will be ready by end of this year, and we have 3 gigawatts under different stages of development. And the way he started the business is in 2020, 2021, when we were locked up because of COVID, he couldn't just sit at home. So he wanted to invest in the US markets because the US markets tanked. And he was looking at REITs, which is similar to our business model, so he understood it. He would see the property companies like Simon Property Group, etc., trading at very depressed multiples, but then a company like Equinix trading at very high multiples. And he said, what is Equinix? It's a REIT. What does it do that's different? And they told him it's data centers. And within a couple of weeks, he said, you know what, this is a beautiful business model. And he went gun-ho 100% into the business. So he's very entrepreneurial, and he's been that way with all of us since a young age. My son is 3.5 years old, and his discussions with my son is just about business. So
How about that?
That trains you, that trains you from a young age.
Well, what is his favorite business term, may I ask?
ROE, return on equity. The only term he cares about is ROE. Does the return on equity make sense? If I deploy my money in X business, is it going to give me a better return than just deploying it with global fund managers who historically give me 14-15% IRR? If it is, it's worth my headache, go and do it. If it's not, don't bother.
He's coming after your job, I think.
Yeah.
When do you remember the first time in the business when you were sitting down with your team, with your dad, your sister, and others, where you brought up the impact, and then how did you justify that, by the way, in that conversation or thereafter, the implementation and use of these large-scale data sets and LLMs and AI wrappers?
Like if I talk about CRM, that's a headcount reduction, improved efficiency, but it doesn't really move the needle much. If I talk to you about our collections department, we've done last year north of $10 billion in sales. Of course, in the off-plan model, all of that cash is going to come over the next 3 to 4 years.
Right.
So you have to be very much on top of your collections. In early 2024, the first use case which I went about doing was with collections. It is to start using automated calls, focusing on the history of these customers. Because when we speak to customers, we write down what is their reason for non-payment. We fed that all into our databases. Now, when the calls are happening to the customers using AI bots, they can have a productive discussion with these customers. So it's not just telling the customer, hi, you're overdue pay. He's telling the customer, we understand you had an issue last month, your salary was late, for example. What can we do to help you resolve your issue and make you pay on time? That increased our conversions from 42% to 50%. That brought in 200 million dirhams extra per month. That's 2.4 billion dirhams a year you're collecting, which you would not have collected if it was not for AI models. Now, if I just take the interest on 2.4 billion dirhams, that pays many folds for all of our AI initiatives in the company. And that's how you need to monitor the ROI on the initiatives you're running in the organization.
What data do you want to buy, and are you going to invest in an LLM capability unique to DAMAC Group?
No, I think the LLM capabilities of the major players are more than sufficient. We're not a technology company. We don't want to be. Our strategy is actually outsource everything which is not related to our core business. We want to have the brains within the business, but outsource the legwork. If MIS, for example, we have a team of 42 people. We don't think we need more than 4 people over the next 18 months because all of that is going to be done by AI. It's pulling up data and giving you insights on how to better manage your business.
Talking about managing a business, and I know we're getting to the end of our time here, you were telling me earlier that typically when your management team has its periodic meetings, you would give all the reports to the data analysts and say, okay, now give us the right reports so we can sit down as a management team and plan for the next quarter, the next year, the next 2 years. That's changed drastically because you've reduced the number of data analysts by almost 95%. What has this meant for your business, and are you worried that what is largely a people business, real estate, is going to change drastically, and how are you going to plan for that?
I think most businesses will change drastically. I mean, people compare what's happening now to the Industrial Revolution. I think this time is quite different. You're going to have very skilled people, skilled labor out of jobs. Today we have a large legal team. They review contracts, land acquisition contracts. Today, I'm putting in all of my previous contracts with a redlining into the LLM models, and the job that a lawyer who's paid 100,000 dirhams a month and takes 10 days to do, the models are giving me the better insight in less than a day. What is this person going to do? How is he going to be retrained? When you talk about engineers, in a couple of years, we have a team of 200 people in our technical department that review work of the consultants. Technology is going to replace their jobs. Where are they going to go? You have very highly skilled labor, people who've spent 20, 30 years in their professions who are going to be out of a job. How are governments going to react to that? How are businesses going to react to that? There's only so much businesses can do to retrain people. So I think government is going to have really a major role in dealing with the crisis that would come with AI adoption.
So there's some warnings there. There's also some advice there. We're done with our time, but 30 seconds if I can here, Ali, and that is, what is your advice for those who are leading large real estate entities like your families when it comes to implementing AI and in the entire space to make their businesses more efficient? What would you say?
Focus on ROI. Don't just implement AI for the sake of implementing AI. You need to have solid use cases, run small POCs of multiple initiatives, and the successful ones need to be scaled up, and the not so successful ones you cut out early. And very important, run hybrid teams. Some people might get excited and say, wow, I've got an AI product to deal with my calls. Let me go and fire my team. No. Run both teams, and when AI is really proving itself, and you know that it's scalable, and it's giving you the ROIs, then look at shifting your workforce. Don't rush into it and take the wrong decisions.
Great conversation, great advice. Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for Ali Hussain Sajwani.